again, for the sake of doubling down on this point, you have to have a certain level of mental toughness to make it as a professional athlete in the first place, because for every one guy who makes it onto that Liverpool squad, never mind Liverpool first team, there are, and you will again be able to attest to this, as will I, as a fellow who flirted on the periphery of ever being able to do something like football as a semi-serious occupation. There's always 100 guys who don't make it for every one who does. Maybe the ratio's far bigger than that. And so the fact that you're there in the first place means you're a tough bastard. End of story. Mentally, you have that kind of resilience. You know how to fight your corner. You're not half as frail as what the modern fan thinks you might be.
No, absolutely nowhere near it, Trev. And you do sense, you walk into that professional environment and you just get a vibe of the people who are in that. You know, they're switched on. They don't miss a thing. You know what I mean? They're always one step ahead, isn't it? You know what I mean? So that's the only way you can do it. It's the only way you can deal with it. You know, if you sort of get behind the game and you're chasing the game, you got no chance. You got to be ahead of this. You got to be ahead of everybody else, isn't it? So yeah, the one thing I noticed from walking into that professional environment is just how switched on people are to do their job. You know, I'm not talking about general things in the world, but how switched on they are to do their job, isn't it? I mean, they don't miss a trick in training, pick up things like that, isn't it? And I've experienced that having managed in the lower leagues. Just the difference between that and lower league players in terms of not being able to pick up things as quick, don't react to things as quick, don't see things as quick as elite athletes, you know. So yeah, it is remarkable. But yeah, don't kid yourself. Sometimes we feel sorry for the players and we think, can they cope? They can cope.
You've tempted me too much. I have to ask now. As a gaffer, we all know that there are different ways that you can elicit a performance from a player, and some people are old school, tough love. Some other people are arm around the shoulder, whisper, horse whisperer stuff. And then some people have a mixture of both. You look at the likes of Klopp, I'm sure he was capable of an occasional rocket. And yet at the same time, you think, well, Jurgen is kind of famous for his hugs and man management in a kind of a kind way. He was interested in what players were as people. I'm tempted because I have to ask, what kind of gaffer was Jan Molby in terms of, say, you've got a mixture of people there, right? You've got different types and they need different approaches. Did you have the uniform, like say, you just know that Roy Keane was uniformly sort of bolshy to his players, probably, unless it was a very serious scenario. Did you have that kind of, were you the arm around the shoulder guy? Were you rockets? What was your MO?
I do think that I was probably a little bit of both, that I was capable of kind of reading the room, getting to know the players, what they needed. Obviously coming from, it's different at Anfield, Trevor, because you've all heard the saying, Bill Shankly said, Liverpool exists to win trophies. And it was very much like that when I got to Anfield. So how they ruled at Anfield was almost by fear, because they're saying to the players, listen, you're at Liverpool now, deal with it, yeah? And dealing with it, Liverpool means you have to play well, you have to win games, you have to win trophies, yeah? And if you can't do that, without them ever saying it, you kind of know what the next thing is, isn't it? If you're not living up to those expectations, you don't survive. But it's different when you go down lower in the leagues, because I never managed a club who was there to, you know, we're judged by how many trophies we win or whatever. We were judged by other things. I never had a budget in any of the clubs I had where I was meant to win the league. So you have to treat them differently. At Liverpool, you could kind of afford to go, we've signed somebody here, but he's not mentally tough enough. So we get somebody else. Or more often than not, when I was a manager, I needed the players around me. So you have to be able to deal with all of them. And, you know, some of them got the tough Liverpool love, because you kind of felt that there's more in them. And the reason that they're not playing at a higher level is down to consistency. So you battle against consistency. How do you get consistency out of it? And then you have the ones that you have to. I mean, at the clubs, and even today, my kids on social media, and even some of the players of them, you know, they skid my kids and they go, oh, it's one of the players' birthday today, and you know, that's your step brother, you know, because they go he's, you know, yeah, sort of indirectly, you have your favorites, don't you? You know, people go, oh, it's you know, Jan Stepson's birthday down at Kidderminster or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's just how it was in it. But that's how you got the best out of it. I feel that's how I got the best out of everybody. But there'll also be the ones that don't feel like that. But they were kind of the ones that were on the fringes of it all, Travis, that they weren't really part of it. But they'll always be unhappy. Whatever you do, is whether you put an arm around his shoulder, whether you're tough, isn't it? So you couldn't please them all, but you had to try and please as many as you could.
Yeah, for sure. As opposed to the luxury at Liverpool, where the sour grapes, as I think the lads were known, who were involved in the first team, they would just, get on with it.
Started by two of your countrymen, Ray Houghton and Ron Aldridge.
Oh, really? Is that they started that name? Very good.
Absolutely,
yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to hear there's a little bit of Irish wit involved.